Hey guys, welcome to episode 18 of the Gradlife podcast. I'm delighted to have my good friend with me, Tom Kelly. And Tom is a very important person for this podcast because it's my discussions with him that we had every day in the UCD restaurant over some greasy chips and sausages that
not in lectures.
Yeah, not in lectures that made me want to do this. So Tom now is a qualified accountant in a small accounting firm in Dublin called Ormsby Rhodes. And it's great to have you with us.
Thanks very much for having me on. It's a bit surreal for me because I listen to at least one podcast every day.
Do you actually? Yeah.
Pretty much every day, and have for ages. Like I've listened to Joe Rogan since it was double digits. So
right,
like very early time.
Yeah.
I listened to it when I was in, I think I started when I was in like 4th year in school.
And you got me into Tim Ferriss as well.
Yeah, so I've bounced around, and most of them are not that educational.
Right. And of course, Gradlife is the only one you're.
Yeah, I've been exclusively been listening to this. And if you are listening now and you've listened to Gradlife previously, prepare to feel very good about yourself because I'm probably not nearly as impressive as most of the guests. They're very, very impressive young people, and so I've really enjoyed them. I think they'd be great value for people.
Well, I just kind of think that the reason obviously the whole thing came about was I was trying to provide a service that I wished that I had when I was in college.
Oh, 100%.
And I think you and I, particularly with our conversations, probably would have benefited from having input from someone who actually knew they were talking about it.
Massively, massively, yeah. I often say about it, it's like, when you're in school and stuff, you might get be lucky enough to get somebody's parent or someone to come and speak to you, and they could be like, I don't know, outstanding at or they could be outstanding in their field. They could be like a consultant as a doctor or a senior counsel as a barrister. But as great as that is, it's actually not that applicable if you're a leaving cert student. It's kind of like, how are you gonna, you don't know. They probably sat, whatever professional exams or college, so long ago that the rules have completely changed.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of myths as well. Hopefully it's, it's changed from when I was in school. But I know when I was in school, I was told, oh, well, if you're not good at history or you're not the best in English, don't do law or, don't become a barrister. Everyone's heard that.
Yeah.
Now I could tell you that I know that not to be the truth.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? At all. Or not to be the case, or don't become an accountant if you're not, like a very, very, very near the top of your honours maths class, and that's not the case either.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think there's a lot of benefit from, I think people at, I don't know, my level, who are maybe a few years into their career, professional career, talking back to students, because there's just so much unknown to you, and you kind of have to learn it as you go, up to now. And I think it's not. I think there's just so much applicable advice that you can be given that would save you a lot of time.
So what you're talking about is like probably the founding premise of this whole thing. As I say, and the way you talk about, say, you're a 50-year-old business person talking to a business grad at the moment, there's a language barrier there. There's an actual language barrier there where the grad is entering a world that is just very, very different, technologically driven. And the 50-year-old didn't ever work in that world because technology didn't even exist when they were a business grad, And then another kind of theory I have is that empathy wears off. So to give an example, when I was 21, I might have, on some grounds, given better advice to a 15-year-old than I'd be able to now. Because my empathy that I have with the 15-year-old is fading over time because I'm moving into a completely different space.
And you fall out of whack as well because you're not cool anymore. Like you don't really know, like say your older brother was able to give you advice, but it'd be hard for him to go and talk to a 15-year-old now because I was even, one of the lads there was talking about his brother says that his little brother is in 3rd year in school, and that him and his friends don't even have each other's, they could be best friends, don't even have each other's phone numbers. What? It's only Snapchat that they text her. It's the only way they text. Just Snapchat.
That's mad.
So he didn't have his best friend's phone number because they asked could they ring him.
That's nuts.
No. Isn't that how crazy is that?
And that's
not even just WhatsApp.
We're 26. And we're completely out of touch.
Yeah, no, I'm an old man. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So that's the founding premise, and to give these guys input from relevant people who are going through something, A, that these guys are about to go through imminently, and B, who have just come out of what they're currently going through. And I think that's a kind of great foundation for relatability. So going into that then, going into your mindset in college and the chats that we would have every day, we were both very ambitious and we've both taken very different routes.
Yeah.
And I think that's a point of interest, and I'd love to know the kind of strategy that...
Which is funny because a lot of our strengths probably in university were similar in some ways.
We have one strength.
Yeah, one strength. Yeah. One move.
Kid yourself.
One move. Yeah, so...
One trick.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was 1 year left, I would have got tired of seeing it.
Everyone's catching up near the end. I was a bit scared of it. Yeah, so presenting was basically the only thing that we kind of recognised very... I think it was probably in one of our first tutorials, I remember, like, just from having some experience prior to university of speaking in front of people, my God, like, not that it was like any formal training or anything, it just gave you such a leg up.
Yeah.
People were so exposed, and a lot of them in a business degree, there was just so much presenting in
Huge part of it, yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, there was always be a lovely 20 or 30% up for grabs, and like you could also do the least work in the group. Because you just go, yeah, I'll do the presenting, and loads of people just hate it. It's like it's a fear of theirs.
Well, we both took the same strategy. We go to the people who are much smarter than you and say, "Hey, do you want to be a partner? You do the what you're good at. I'll do what I'm good at, and we should balance out."
Yeah, sometimes I wouldn't have even whatever project we're doing, I mightn't have even read it or logged into the whatever like game or something you're supposed to be playing. Like I wouldn't have even done it. You just go up there and talk. And that was the only I guess that little bit of confidence goes a long way. So if you are a Leaving Cert student, let's say, listen to this. I know you've got a lot on your plate, but like if you can get an opportunity to speak in front of your school or anything, even if it's something tiny, like I know some schools could have a prayer in the morning, or they could have like an assembly and just reading something aloud.
Yeah.
Like even if it's something you're reading from a cue card, like that is definitely going to stand to you. And like as awkward as an experience that is, you're better off getting the cobwebs out of the way and don't let it be in university when there's percentages on the line. Absolutely.
So my version of that, and I kind of think that it's almost like a high jump, to use that analogy, that once the bar is set at a certain height, whatever is below that seems okay. So for me, when I went to Australia the first time out with the lads straight after school, at the end of that year, we were thanking the school for the year they had given us, etc. And I was asked to do the speech. So I had the speech in front of 1,300 people on stage, and they called my name out there like, now on behalf of the Gappies, are going to have markup, and I literally froze. And that is absolutely easily the most frightened I've ever been in my life. And a good kind of tip that I used to get through it was just rain jokes on them. Just so you know, like just joke after joke, and it completely breaks down the kind of tension that exists in your head, whether or not it exists for everyone else.
Yeah.
And makes you much more comfortable, develops a kind of dynamic between yourself and the
even
audience.
If you aren't, say, like someone who maybe is, that good at delivering jokes or is that funny, fall back on what you are comfortable on and to speak aloud. So say you're just like really strong at like, whatever the content of what you're talking about, whatever, like there's a lot of substance to what you say, which would not be the case for myself most of the time. But if that was what it was, then you can just fall back on that and be sure, like, at least what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you just need to keep concentrating on the delivery.
Yeah.
And that's something that I say to some people I know who may have to present in work and stuff like that, and they kind of say to me like, "Oh, I'm so nervous, I don't like it." And I'm just kind of saying, it's just, it's like you'll know way more than the people sitting in front of you. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like if you're a teacher and you get thrown a class that you didn't really formally study, and you just stay a chapter ahead of the kids. And
that's exactly what people would ask me about it in college, and I would say two things. A, in college, unfortunately, half your audience isn't listening. They're just not. They're bloody on their phone, or they're thinking about it, or checking someone else in the class, whatever. And the second thing is, the part who are listening, you definitely know more about them than the topic. And then on top of that, you have an assumed authority over them.
Yeah, they have the case study or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. And you have the floor, and it is just assumed by way of the fact that you're standing there and they're sitting down and you're delivering and they're just part of the audience. You have this assumed authority, and what I encourage people to do when they're presenting and they're nervous is to take that assumed authority by the reins and own it, sort of. So rather than cowering and thinking, "Oh, I'm going to be caught out here," grow into that assumed authority and allow it to take you up as high as it can.
Yeah, just making eye contact with people and smiling.
Yeah.
Just make and projecting your voice is going to make it.
Yeah, there's some very simple.
It gives such an air of confidence.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went to in university. My first choice for my CAO. I was thinking back on this today, just because I knew I was doing the podcast.
Right.
First choice for my CAO was business and law, and I missed out on that by 10 points. But I that was put there as, like, I had no intention. I never really thought that I'd ever get that many points.
So that was what I would have rather do, but I knew I wasn't going to get the points. I just knew it.
So I missed it by 10 points, and then I got into commerce, which was my second choice. I know the points have gone up a lot because I'm conscious of who might be listening to this. So I know the points have gone up a lot. I think it's like 500 now for commerce.
Nice. Makes us look
better. It makes us look better. Yeah. It was 445, I think, when we did it. So I got 470 back then. So 480 was business and law. I think that's shot up loads as well.
Right,
but
okay.
I don't know. Are people really getting smarter, or is the test getting easier? Like, do you know what I mean? How is it so inflated? I know there's extra points for different things now.
Yeah, people are getting like 630 or 625 and stuff now, which is mad as well. I think they're just figuring out the system. That would be my best.
Yeah, maybe they're getting better at the exam. God, I don't know.
So not smarter, okay?
Yeah, not smarter. Couldn't possibly be. But anyway,
So you went into commerce in the end, and you kind of
I was very happy with that because to be honest, I did not think I would get in.
Right, okay.
I did not think I'd get as many points as I did, so I was pleasantly surprised. And then went into university, and to be honest, I think for a lot of kids, if you're in there, you're still on 6-year holiday, and then next thing you know, you're in the RDS, and you're sitting your first semester exams, and you don't know what the hell you're doing. And I had done locally, fortunately. I don't know, I didn't know what I wanted to do at all when I was in school, but I knew I probably wanted what direction I wanted to go in, which is a big leg up. I know they say to you oftentimes, do a science to keep your options open, or to do this. And I'm sure that's good advice, but for me, I knew I'm never going to be a scientist or a doctor or anything like that. So I knew business or potentially maybe law or something like that, just something I could do. I've crap with languages as well, so I was just I'm just going to try focus on subjects that score high marks and ones that I can do well in. So I did all 3 businesses, and I did geography.
Right, okay.
And then I did pass German just to get through that.
Just pick up the points.
Yeah, so I did. That's what I did, and then I just the 3 businesses really stood to me, 100%. Especially the accountancy in school. Yeah, really stood to me. I had good teachers, so that literally got me through. I would say right past the first semester in 2nd year in commerce, which is a lot.
Yeah, same here. So
carried me through. I did
really
very little study. I admit to it. But I never failed an exam in university. Thank God. I used to say it was like a Floyd Mayweather-esque record. Very few knockouts, but a lot of wins. So I didn't. Never failed a module, but I didn't get a lot of A's. Definitely not. I was kind of really fighting, and one of my difficult things then when I was applying for jobs was I was below a 2-1 going into my last semester, so that was tough. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, chasing it and having to try and convince people who were interviewing you that not only was I going to get the grade for them to take a chance on me, but then most of the jobs I was interviewing for had professional examinations with it, and when I was they're obviously much tougher, and they're probably thinking, Jesus, guy can't even get to college. Good luck to him with professional exams. So I don't know. That used to be my main talking point that they used to kind of hammer me on in interviews when I was in my final year. But my whole mindset through college, I guess, was your question. I don't know. To be honest, I remember really genuinely thinking about what I was going to do with myself in 2nd year in college. And I really thought I was just going to open a gym or something.
That's what I want to zone in on, is the final year. When you're in final year and people are joining accounting firms or marketing firms, whatever it might be, you had the personality, the skill set, etc. for sales or marketing or anything. And to be honest, in final year, I hadn't ruled out being a barrister. So that's how open it still was. But you really went strict onto accounting then?
Sort of, yeah. So, well, I would say, commerce is, we did just normal commerce, so that was 3 years, 3-year degree, which is very short time to be in university. You don't know what you're going to do. And one thing I would say a lot of times to, I say if I do talk to people who are maybe up in university or in school, don't be intimidated by the people around you. It was really big in college. I remember so many people where everyone wants to have a plan. Everyone wants to have this amazing plan. It's the same when you meet people. You can meet someone in a pub tonight, and they would they want to sell you they've got this really big plan. They've got everything together, and you just feel terrible about yourself. Yeah. How the hell am I meant to?
Yeah, there was always a group.
It was real anarchy, but then you always think to yourself, actually looking back on it now, and they'd be sharing notes and all this kind of stuff, and I used to just think this is they've all got everything together. I wish I was like that. But in reality, you shouldn't really know what you're going to do, at that age. I've definitely, as of late, become a lot more comfortable with not knowing exactly what I'm going to be or what I'm going to achieve, but all I know is that obviously I want to just try keep moving in a direction where I'm improving in the areas that I want to improve in. And as long as I think I'm still progressing and learning and gaining experience, then in the general direction, I'm going to eventually get somewhere where I'm happy. You know what I mean? Because I think like everyone used to be like, oh, well, I'm going to work in this job and I'm going to qualify in this, and then next time I'm going to get promoted, and then I'm going to move to Australia, and then I'm going to do this, or I'm going to move to, and you just kind of think to yourself like, wow, like
you're not leaving any accountability for the wind or anything
like,
changing.
Yeah, and it was just like, and it was really intimidating. And it was so like, you couldn't say to them, oh, you felt like a loser if you said like, oh, geez, I actually don't really know what I'm going to do. Yeah. So I remember panicking and doing an internship in second year because I was going. That
was a great internship. Done stores, right?
Yeah, it worked out perfect for me because I was going to the Lions tour, so I couldn't not go there. And then during the summer, so I was like, I just started ringing around anyone I could to try to get me an internship that could either get that could go either side of the Lions tours in the middle of the summer. Yeah. And I couldn't do like a lot of people are doing the big 4 ones because they hand out a lot of them. And I couldn't do it. I remember you were going to EY. I did EY, yeah. I couldn't do those. So I went to Dunstore's head office, and I basically started the day after my final exam or my last exam.
You were on the buying team? Was that right?
No. So I went to the grocery. I was on the grocery floor, but I was doing store. What are they called? Store. It's like store layouts. So it's basically, I can't remember what they call space. Yeah, sorry, space management analysis or something. Right. And basically, there was a really understaffed team. So you basically just do the layouts and they're called planograms for all the shelves. So there's a huge amount of marketing and subconscious marketing that goes into this kind of stuff. Okay. Now, I'm sure there could be someone who's X in that marketing tearing their hair out when I'm saying these words, but you would walk in and there has to be like planograms are normally done by the suppliers, but you have to lay out the store. So on entry you have the bakery, and then you have your destination stuff near the end. Yeah. People need to go get certain items. Yeah. But so you put that in the corner. So you might have the bread and the very the packaged bread, at a certain area. So people have to walk by the more impulse.
Yeah. So it was very interesting.
Yeah, stuff. It was cool. And do you know what? That place, I actually I know, like, it's no secret, obviously, Dunstore is a tough place to work. It's renowned as that, and all retail, I think, stores, like head offices are tough because it's so fast paced. But I really enjoyed it. It was perfect for an internship because, I knew I was getting out. But there would be I was really fortunate as well that the person who I was who was head of my department, I think she used to fly in on Monday morning, fly back on a Thursday. She was like a consultant, and she formerly was like a director in some really big stores over in some really big head offices of only she had fallen ill for a few years in the UK, and then she came back and she got brought back in, but she was really able to kind of give me the heads up because they were interested in getting me back, obviously, after my degree. But I kind of said to them, they would ask me what I'm going to do myself, and I didn't know. I thought I might do a master's, or I didn't really know. I knew I'd probably become an accountant, and I used to kind of say a lot. I'm from like a family business background, so I know my dad used to always kind of say, oh, if you could do your own books, you could save a lot of money, like if you were really your own accountant. So I kind of just always was stuck in my head. So I was like, it'd be a qualification that would be good to get, and obviously you can sit the Cap 1 exemptions, which gets you through the first third. You do that while still in college. Yeah. So I knew I could do that, and I knew I probably was able for the class. So I was just like, I'll take those classes, I'll get those exemptions, and I'll have more options when I leave. Yeah. So I did that, and I remember the person who was head of my department in Dunstore told me, don't come back working here. Go get chartered. She was chartered 4 years back, and I think she trained in the HMRC, or HRMC, whatever it's called, the revenue over in the UK. Oh yeah. So she had trained through there, and she had basically told me go get that qualification, it will really stand you.
Or see, Majesty's Revenue Commission.
And so that's where it was. And then to be honest, in final year, I kind of I was very conflicted. Looking back, I probably, if you went and talked to me then, I'd really convince you that I wasn't. But I was probably genuinely conflicted because I didn't know what it was that I really wanted to do.
You were. The Masters was bigger in your head than you letting on, I think. I remember the Masters being quite a big lure to you.
I didn't want to be someone who didn't have anything going on. So I was a bit worried. And I was also kind of quite distracted through university. And it's kind of something now looking back. My whole life I kind of always
the distraction.
Trying to juggle a million things. Like I just have to try to fill my time with a million different things, and like not trying to say like give off this impression like, oh, I'm working so hard or anything like that.
The distraction was a girl. Yeah. She still is a girl.
No, and most of the stuff was like I was coaching doing strength and conditioning coaching for.
Oh, you were down in school every day.
Yeah, so I used to drive like all through university. My part-time job was strength and conditioning coach for the senior cup team. So I used to drive down like about 4 mornings a week.
Yeah, you were my full-time driver as well.
Yeah. And like 10 to 6, I would leave. Get down there and coach weights at 7 a.m. in Clane. In Kildare, and I would return and get back to college, and that was one of the only things that got me back in college, or got me into college. Because I was in a routine. I would just drive to college, then park up, and it would be quite it was something I was really interested in, and at certain points I probably just preferred doing that than I did going to college for certain periods.
But wasn't it great to have that for the discipline that it teaches you, and having that kind of routine and the need to be somewhere.
So if you're a university student, I think having a part-time job in your first
it's brilliant.
Even not just to take the pressure off your parents financially, but like also just to just get into a better routine, because like you don't realize how much time. And everyone will tell you that, like, you don't realize how much time and freedom you have in university until you actually get a job. And then you're like, oh my god, you have to hand in multiple slips to get a day off, and that's just the way it is.
I found a little hack for that, because most people I think were working for about €8 an hour doing cafe or restaurant stuff or whatever. And I became a rugby coach in schools, doing like 25 or 30 euro an hour.
So
there's a little hack there. If people are into a sport,
hockey or whatever sport you play.
Sport it is, the hourly rates are very good.
So then and then when I was applying for jobs, I didn't want to go to the big four. I knew, and now.
Why not? Because everyone who's into accounting lives and breathes the big four.
So this is something that loads of people ask me, and a lot of my friends, I was probably kind of out of college quite quickly compared to some of my friends, because a lot of them might have either kind of restarted their course or done something different or changed their mind, or maybe they were just in longer courses or did a gap year.
And as you say, commerce is quick.
So I was into it really quick, and I was into the accounting exams really quick, and I think a lot of people don't get it. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of my friends wouldn't, like, it's easier when your friends have all done it. Like, a lot of them are still doing them now, and like I can appreciate what they're doing, but maybe they didn't understand at the time when I was doing it, like how much extra time I had to put into doing them. And like I was also just kind of like a lot of people ask me, well, why wouldn't you go work for one of the big ones? And I'm sure a lot of times I did, being genuine, I probably wondered, oh geez, will it be, grass is probably greener on that side? Because there is like there's definitely positives and negatives, and generally speaking, if you were talking to somebody, like just as a broad answer, it's probably best to go to one of those for your CV and going abroad and different things like that. However, what you'll hear from a lot of people is, especially people in business, that a smaller practice is somewhere where you might get better training. And I would probably agree with that, because I think, like, especially you're much more judged on an individual basis, and that was my concern in college, because I kind of thought to myself, like, I could be sitting next to someone who's way brighter than me, right? Like
hypothetically, call him Ross.
So I had a pal who was like definitely way smarter than me, who's he's doing economics finance, and he was way brighter than me, and he was in economics. He was in economics finance, but he was in school with me. And I remember him telling me he was going to go into like audit in some place in one of the big four. And I was just like, oh crap, I can't sit next to him, because I was just like, when it's just judging us purely on our work, like, this guy's going to kill me, like, do you know what I mean? But I knew that, like, we'd done like a mini, and I know it sounds so ridiculous, but we'd done like a mini company when I was in fourth year in school, right? And he was we were on the same team, and I kind of led the project, and he was sort of like, he was probably like the second in charge, but he was like, I knew I was kind of better at doing the sales and doing a lot of stuff, so I had some skills that were probably better than him. I knew that, because like I think we turned like 30 grand in 6 months, you know what I mean, of turnover. So it was pretty
in the mini business.
Oh my god, right? Class. And it wasn't the most original idea, selling rugby jerseys to rugby players. Anyway, so so I knew I was better at some things, but I knew I was going to get killed by sitting next to him. And that's just all that was running through my mind. So I kind of thought, right, I need to go somewhere where I'll be, the people at the top.
Where my strengths will be appreciated.
Well, at least people will know what I'm like. You know what I mean? They'll get to meet me, and that would be exciting. I wouldn't like to be lost in the mix too much. You know what I mean? I wouldn't back myself that way. And I think, like, everyone says, "Oh, work on your weaknesses," but like Christ, like you're about like sometimes play to your strengths. You know what I mean? It's probably the better thing. So if I do want to get this qualification, it's probably the way I thought about it was, you know, maybe it's better if I just do it in a smaller practice. And also, if I always, you know, I've always thought of maybe opening my own business. I definitely did back then. That if I was in one of these very, very large practices, I would only be working on, you know, mainly PLCs.
Yeah.
You know, and the likelihood of you running a company that's going to be a PLC is very, very small.
Yeah.
So you're going to start a company that's going to be a private limited company. So I wanted to be able to kind of do everything. You know, if I was going to open it, I'd be able to keep it really lean.
That's something I want to go into in a few moments' time. But to narrow in, like, there's going to be a lot of people that are about to leave college or any degree, or even are already graduated and are looking around and thinking, God, I went into a huge place, and not necessarily accounting anything, and thinking, I'm either hiding behind this massive grad program structure here, and I'm not getting kind of real wear and tear, putting out fires sort of experience, the like of which I would get in a small place. Yeah. And I'm doing all this accounting work, or I'm doing all this marketing work or admin work, and what I'm really good at is over here, but I'm not getting to use these muscles or flex these muscles.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a you can kind of go either way on that, because say you go like don't get me wrong, I've not done a grad program in a large firm,
neither.
So I couldn't tell you if it was, or even worked in like a very large corporation, with the exception of my internship. Like I can't really speak for it.
Yeah.
But however, one thing I will say, regardless of the size of the office that you work in, like when you get there, and I know this is kind of like, this is something that I've said to some people, and it's like looking back on myself and, you know, any experiences my friends have had. Like when you go into say you've done really well, like say you've done really well in your leaving cert, and you've gotten into university, and you got into a course, like a good course, and everyone was happy with you, and like you did well in your course and you got a job. Like you've done really well, and you are, like, you know, you probably think you're great, and you are great. Like you've done what is asked of you, and like you're probably getting a job, and you probably, you know, think that, you know, lots of really successful people have done what I've done. But what you forget is, like, they did a whole lot more. Yeah. Like, you know, after that. And I think that a lot of graduates turn up to companies like that, and they kind of like, I know, even just speaking to like any of my friends, they kind of all say it, and they can say it about themselves even, they were like this, where they turn up and, you know, you kind of come in, you think like, I'm great, like I'm going to be great to this company, I'm a real asset, like I can do this and that. But what you forget is people in companies don't tend to spend much time looking behind them. You know what I mean? They get to the next level and they're looking up, and like that's the way the companies are structured. Like that's why there's a ladder, you know. And I think that when you walk in the door and you're a graduate, you're there, right? And so is the person next to you, and so is the other, you know, girl next to you, or the guy next to you, whatever. They're there as well, right? So they're all in. So if you got the first, or if you got the 2-1, or if you got the, you know, if you set up some society or not, that's cool, but like, you know, you kind of start from zero again. I always equate it's like, Joe, when you're in junior school, right? And you're the king of the mountain when you're in 6th class, right? And then you go back into the senior school, and oh my God, you're like the flies in the jungle. You're nothing like. You are
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, you're way back down the totem pole, and everyone's skipping in the lunch crew, and people are slagging you, and you can't do anything about it, and you can't fight back. That's what it's like almost when you start getting work, and you were like, oh my God, I know nothing. And like, I know it sounds terrible, but it's just like, you are like, the printer is worth way more to the company than you are. Like, it's the truth, it is. You're not only are you not an asset, you're a hindrance to your manager. And you might be able to say, oh well, you know, they don't pay me that much, so how much could I really cost them? It's like cheap labor, but you're not really, because the person who's training you,
their labour is expensive, and they're wasting it on you.
They're wasting all the time on you. So the best advice I think I could give somebody, if it was their first week or 10 days in an office or whatever, is just put your hand up. Whoever puts their hand up first is going to be the one that stands out. Not the person who goes around saying, I got the first, or I got this. You're actually just better off if somebody says, you know, can you go down and grab the coffee or something. Put your hand and go, yeah. Jump up and do it, and then you're like, oh, well, Jesus, the people's impression of you will be like, oh wow, that's like they're on the ball, or they're doing something right, and just listening and not wasting like that valuable time we're just talking about of someone superior to you, I think is really good advice going into an office. And also just never be like compartmentalized, or think like, you know, don't think like the employee. I think if you think like the boss, like from their perspective, whoever's in charge, like it's a lot better. Instead of thinking like, sometimes you hear people, like you could hear people like, I don't know, you see it on the news or anything and they're all like, oh, this is outside my job description, or this is outside their job description, they can't do it. And you're just like, there should be no job description. If your boss, now hopefully they shouldn't be doing this if you're working in an office, wouldn't probably ruin your suit for the rest of the day, but if they said, go wash my car, like, you just go and do it. Like, that's it. That's the mentality. If you have that mentality, you will be such a more valuable employee than somebody who's going to be, you know, constantly thinking, what's in it for me? You know? And I'm not saying to be taken advantage of, but when you're just in the door, like if you have that like positive approach, I think that's really what's going to set you aside. Not, you know, just because you did 5% better than someone sitting next to you in the exam.
That stuff is invisible at this stage.
It all just starts again.
Well, the thing is, you do come across graduates who take great pride, too much pride, because they take their foot off the brake and they've only made it to the start line. Yeah. That's the thing.
They think they're at the destination.
Yeah, if you get into a really good company or whatever it might 100%. Be, and you have a great graduate paycheck, etc., and they think, oh, I made it.
Yeah,
and it's the start line.
Yeah, you don't want to take it away from them, because it's like, obviously they have worked hard to get there. Like if you got into, I don't know, like Google or Facebook or something like that, like you've done really well. It's hard to get into those companies, but then like that's when the work only begins.
And it's a long race. It's not a sprint. And why it's important to know that is, if you are starting in a position that's much more disadvantageous than the person beside you. If I start really in a crap job in a crap company in a crap city, and you start in a great job, great company, great city, yes, you're miles ahead of me. But bear in mind that we're only on the very, very early stages of the race. Like say, to use an example, the first 5 meters of a 400-meter race. I have a lot of time to catch up with you, and if I play the game the right way, if I play chess rather than checkers as the saying goes, there's a lot of room there for me to catch up and pass you out, and you need to keep your foot on the gas the whole time.
And like what you'll find sometimes, and like I say, some people, it's like they find it really hard to get a job coming out of university, and I know like it can be very disheartening. Like I know people who've got rejected from 30+ grad programs, right, and they could be coming out with masters. Like that's a horrible feeling, I'm sure.
And scary, I'm sure.
Yeah, so scary, because they probably have a load of debt and stuff like that. But let's just say, like, I know, like, you might not be getting the job you wanted or something, but just get in there and start working. Like, maybe it's not applicable for an accountancy firm, but I've seen it before where, you know, you get a job, and once you have a job, it's a lot easier to get a job. You know what I mean? Without a doubt. Because, like, those teething problems we're talking about, how, you know, you're basically a dummy walking into most companies on their first day. That's like, they know you've gotten those out of the way. So that gives you so much more credibility than even people with really impressive CVs. And what you'll see is then in these big corporations, then like these, let's say you finally get that job after doing the crap job for a year or two. You get into like the Googles or the Facebooks or something like that. You'll see them pass out the golden child graduate who got straight in, because they've got this like level of appreciation that, you know, they are every day so grateful that they're getting free food and they're getting paid more, and you know what I mean, they're doing work that's, you know, like that they're being thanked for, and you know, little things like that, and like that makes such a difference. But whereas the kid that kind of has always done really well through university, and not that they didn't deserve to get in, but they got in, and then it's like you said, I made it. You know, we're putting the feet up now. Or they treat it kind of like college, and they kind of take advantage of, you know, they're always looking for ways out, like, oh, I can take a day off here, or oh, I can take another day off, and start suiting themselves. Whereas the person with the hard work ethic, because they've probably been through a tough company that didn't appreciate them and, you know, really pushed them hard, and, you know, it really pays off down the run. So don't get yourself down if you didn't maybe get into, you know, right at the get-go, get the grad program you really wanted, because you'd be amazed, you might think, oh, now I'm a year behind or 2 years behind my friends if I want to get into that company. It's just like, you can still pass them out if you work hard enough, you know. What
do you think the main or the most important skill, 2 questions, skill and then habit for a grad in their first 3 years to pick up is? Most important skill or habit in the first 3 years? So if I was to
think, listening is a huge thing, you know, like just being able to take directions, like I'm speaking from experience here. So like don't think any of this advice is coming like I'm some sort of guru, because I'm absolutely
but it's all from experience.
Most from experience, most from my own mistakes. And if you can take something from somebody else's mistakes, like that's so beneficial because you didn't have to incur said mistakes. So.
What about, oh, absolutely. What about where knowing how to be a good listener and take direction, as you say, what about where that clashes with what I think is one of the most important things for a grad to acquire, is the ability to think independently and not be told what to think, but actually come up with ideas themselves, form their own view of the work they're doing and the context within which that fits, form their own view of where the company might be going, where the markets might be going, rather than just, you know, taking it in and not even kind of processing it, just filtering it back out again, you know?
Yeah, you kind of be the machine or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And look, you should kind of be a machine probably in your first couple of years in regards like just doing what's asked of you and doing it right, but like maybe adding value or taking initiative when there's a problem, going to try to solve it. Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you step up, like, well, if you were like, again, put yourself in the employer's shoes, like, how much like how happy would you be if there was a problem? Like, if you're in charge, you probably have to deal with 90% of the problems. But like, how happy would you be if there's a problem and then you find out, oh no, whoever has just actually sorted that out.
Yeah.
And like, they're not going to pay any extra, not doing anything extra. That makes you stand out so much.
Surprised.
And obviously you need to, there's a balancing act there, and I'm sure it's in every company, like you can't be sacrificing the work that you're required to do to just go off and do your own side projects and ventures, and like that's obviously not what you're supposed to be doing. But I'm sure people are, like I'm sure I've done that in the past, but you just need to I just you know, keep the lights on, so do the day-to-day stuff, and then also then if you think you can add value
on top of that.
Yeah.
And then in terms of habit, I've got a habit in my head, and it comes again from experience. Going into a company straight out of college, as you say, you're kind of the big kid, you go from the big kid to the small kid. You're very, very determined to show how smart you are and how much you know about all this, etc. Oh, I'm all over it. This is easy. And everyone does it.
Yeah.
Put their best foot forward and more.
Yeah.
And what I kind of realized that I was doing, and a lot of other people do, is that they kind of try to jump to, say, level 3 of knowledge, and they start having level 3 conversations without having the nuts and bolts of level 1 and level 2 down. Because if you start hanging out at level 3 and getting things right, next step is level 4. And if you go to level 4 and then you have to ask, hang on, what was level 1 again? Or like, can we just talk about that and nail that down? Or level 2, you look ridiculous and you lose a lot of that kind of brand equity that you have built by hanging out at level 3 or 4 earlier.
Yeah, I think it goes back to like the listening, and you just kind of have to pay your dues no matter where you are. And some jobs are going to be, you know, it might be a 6-month learning curve to kind of get that role under wraps. In some companies I see people, but then definitely for people who are listening to this about accountancy, like it takes ages to get a grab of it. And like I think that's why there's 3.5-year training contracts, you know, and why there's, you know, exams on top of that and stuff like that, because it takes ages. Like it really takes ages. And like,
what changed though between you getting through to the end of 2nd year college on your 6th year material from school? What changed between that and then taking 3.5 years to get the rest?
I think it's just so, like, there's just like you see people. I can see people in my work, right, and they're like at the top of it, they'll be partners or something like that, and they are like wizard accountants. They're really, really good. Right? Just class, right? But like they're still constantly learning, and they have no problem saying like someone asks them a question, they can say like I don't know. I'll find out for you though. You know, like they're so like it's just when you're dealing in something that needs, you know, constant advice, a professional something like a professional, like the practice is full of, you know, professional qualified people, you know, like that requires that, you know, this is a service that people need, you know, and it's just like there's gonna be like infinite. You could never learn it all. You could never learn it all. You know what I mean? Like even if you learned every textbook you were handed as a kid, you still don't know it all. Yeah. You don't near know it. You could know the revenue website back and forth, and you still don't know it all because there's stuff that's in the, like everything. There's so many variables talking about people's businesses.
And context and conditions change.
Yeah, and then new businesses come up and everything. So there's no like there's just so much to master that you'll never master it. And like you know, if you actually talk to someone who's really accomplished in their field, they never claim to be an expert, or they never claim. They'll never say, you know, hi, I'm whoever, I'm an expert. Like no one says that who really knows what they're talking about.
What's the saying is wisdom is knowing what you don't know, or at least being aware of what you don't know. Yeah. You know?
They're constantly learning. Like I see them, like they could be 50 years into their career and they're still attending courses to get up to date on the newest stuff and asking like, you know, clever questions and things like that. And not questions just to prove they're smart, like literally genuinely interested to know. And they're listening to people who are maybe way less experienced than them sometimes just to find out because they might know something. Yeah. And I think that's a sign of somebody really talented, do you know what I mean?
Well, that's a great manager of mine in Google called Kendall. Kind of told me that she's met so many good people and really good people, etc., what they do or in life, whatever. But the great ones, the common thing that they had that set them apart was this value of humility, where they're able to put up their hand and say, I don't know, I need help. Hey, guy who's way more junior than me, can you come help me with this? And
100%.
The ability to do that.
So when I was coaching, and I was just like, obviously, I was basically at that point in my life just a full-fledged meathead and was just like teaching kids how to lift heavy things. And I would like say the team was quite good every year back then.
Yeah.
And the head coach has like since gone to be a professional coach. Noel Mack. And he's left teaching and everything. He's doing really
it's unreal.
Yeah, you could have taken me with him. But I'm joking. But he said anyway, what was really cool about him, and I really noticed it at the time, like really occurred to me. Like we could be in like, you know, a big game, it could be in Donnybrook or something like that, and on the sidelines, like I'm there to basically hold pads, do you know what I mean, on the day. You know, the weights are done with at that point. And like I'd be watching the game and he actually would genuinely, you know, he'd turn to you and say, what do you think of that? And he'd ask you about something about the game. I'm like, I'd give an opinion, but like I was never the best player, and like I was also like, you know what I mean, like I would never claim, like a lot of times sometimes people criticize like a player's pass or criticize, you know, especially something to do with the backs, like, oh, like they're not that, like their kicking isn't that good. Sometimes I think to myself, I'm like, I don't have the palate to really give an opinion on that. But you know, I just tell him what I think. I'm sure if it's, you know, if it was complete nonsense, I say, he just filters it out.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a filter.
But he didn't have any problem asking someone who was clearly beneath him. Do you know what I mean? Because he just was like, he's so open-minded. I think that's what made him such a great coach. Yeah. He was just so open-minded. He's willing to listen to everyone. Like, yeah, okay, he mightn't take the advice. He'll say, okay, well, that's probably crap advice. So I'll put that away. But he still was just willing to listen. To everyone. You might say something. He never thought he was like right. Yeah. He never thought he was just the one who oh, I know it all. Yeah. Because I guess the moment you know it all is like, you know, that you think you know it all. Yeah. It's not. It's when you're going to ultimately fail.
You might say something in a position like that where what you say doesn't even land or doesn't register or isn't good, but it just makes something ding in his head and then something else moves and then it all lines up, you know?
Yeah, so I'm sure he had like methods to it and stuff like that, but it's like he just wasn't insecure. So he knew, he was comfortable, he knew what he knew, but he wasn't insecure. And it goes back to like what I was saying about maybe in university, like everyone wants to appear to have a plan, but like I think now I can look back and say those people who were, you know, splouting out to me their life plan, you know, there and then, they're 21, I can look back and say now, okay, they were probably just as insecure and immature
maybe more uncertain. They were afraid of the uncertainty and needed the assurance of having this plan.
That, exactly. That, like, you know, these jobs they're talking about that, you know, could be 20 years down the line, and like, you know, they may not even exist by the time they get there, especially in this world. So it's just like they're probably just as insecure, you know, as I was. So I was certainly insecure about it, and it's like, and you know, probably still am. Like you're still worried, you know, like, every time you get older, you're still worried. Like, oh crap, now I need to get, like, you know, I used to be worried. I'm like, oh, I'd really like to get a car, and then you have a car, and then you're like, oh, now I need to get a house. Yeah. And you're just thinking like, how the hell am I meant to get one of them? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like there's always going to be more problems, and you're probably going to always be insecure about certain things. You know, once you gain comfort in one area, opens up the next level, you know, and like you said, you don't tend to look behind you, look above.
Yeah.
So, no, that's something. I don't know. One of the things you were asking about was obviously, to bring it back.
I can't even remember what I asked.
Was it a small practice and a large practice?
Small.
So like
40 minutes ago.
40 minutes ago.
Go on. Small and large. Yeah.
So yeah, it depends. It obviously depends on the individual, I think, is the main thing. And I think like, for most people, they're still going to go, because it's most jobs, they're still going to go to the big practice. And probably for most people, it's probably the best option. Like, you'd be lying if you said that. But, however, I think that a lot of people don't even consider going to a smaller practice. It's not even on their radar.
Yeah, they're absolutely not.
Absolutely not. I think in a lot of the college courses. So it's not advertised as well, you know, they don't have big days where they're handing out pens and stuff like that, you know what I mean, like my practice doesn't really do that.
Well, how did you get in touch with your practice?
Yeah, so I had interviewed, I knew, like I said, so I had that epiphany that I didn't want to go to like the big four or whatever it was, and I didn't do those milk rounds or
anything. Like it's very rare to do what you did, to go into a small private accounting practice.
And it kind of went from like, so I went, my next thing was I started like looking at some grad programs, and I looked at one that I really liked was Gambia, because you had to go abroad in your second year. You could still do the professional qualifications through it.
They make protein probably.
Yeah, they're handing out protein bars and things. Anyway, but so I went to I tried out for that program. I went through all their interview process, and then they were putting pressure on me to make a decision about at around Christmas time. And I kind of was putting them on the long finger because of my exams, because I was kind of like the first year was down in Dungarvan. So I thought to myself, no problem. Sure, like I was talking to you every day and you were going to Australia. So I was like, sure, what? That's only down the road, you know? And I was thinking, oh, this is going to be no problem. Do you know what I mean? And then once you actually get the offer, you're like, oh my God, this is so real. And like, I don't want to go to Dungarvan. I have no friends there. Like, I don't know anyone. It's going to be weird. What if I don't like the people I'm starting with? And so, geez, I kind of was like, I guess a little bit panicked at that point. And I was like, look, you need to get an accountancy. I was like, am I going to just go and do a master's myself and then apply for jobs in different maybe in the big four or different firms? And then maybe I'll just put out a few emails to different smaller firms. So I started researching as much as I could, you know, top 10, top 20 firms. And one of the ones I emailed was Ormsby Rhodes, and then
what were they, top 10 or 20 back then?
I don't know what I think they may be top 15.
Right, okay. How many people are in the firm?
Yeah, sorry, so the firm is there's 50, I think there's around 50 employees.
Right, so it's not that small.
No, I think they're classified officially as a medium-sized practice. There's definitely some like quite big ones just below the big four, but we don't operate in that space. It's all the clients are there's no clients that is a PLC, so we don't have any PLCs. They wouldn't take any on. So it's just all private companies, or you know, it could be high wealth individuals, or you know, it'd be like, and they offer everything. It'd be like payroll to bookkeeping, to you know, tax planning, to audit, to accounts prep. Business services, company secretarial, everything. It's kind of, you get everything done there. It offers a full range of stuff, but only for, you know, private individuals or private. It's
kind of everything that fits under the books, like every.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and a lot of firms will probably offer similar stuff, but I think there's, I can't remember how many, I think it's maybe 7 partners in the firm. So that's the size. I'll give you an indication of what the size is.
And would you interact with the partners every day?
Yeah. So that's the big selling point, 100%.
That's a huge thing.
So you would get to interact with the partners, like basically after maybe your first year and a half, like they always bring you along to say planning meetings when you're only starting out. So if you're going out on an audit or whatever you're doing, you know, they'll bring you along, and they oftentimes I find that, like, even if you were a senior in a job, I often find that the partners really go out of their way to kind of talk to the junior. Like he's almost communicating what's going to happen out of the job to the junior, and doesn't actually, you know, they kind of throw you to the side because you've had this chat. You might be the second year you've done this job, so they're just like, no, like you know what I mean, like we'll deal with any problems down the line. This is more a benefit for part of this younger person's training, and I really like that. So it's like a real team atmosphere kind of going out before you go out in the job, and they would all know your name, definitely. Well, you'd like to think so anyway after a year or so.
You realise they're calling everyone Tom.
Well, or it's like they either know your name because either you were excellent or you were terrible. So I don't know.
Tom's still here.
Or Tom, it's like, how are you still here? So that was something that I definitely liked out of the get-go. To be honest,
so sorry to cut in. Something on that. There's a famous hedge fund manager, Claude Blacks, who his advice to any young career person is to get as far up the hierarchy of thought as you possibly can. And just by definition, almost, when there's 40 people between you and the team captain, i.e. the partner in this instance, it's less likely you're going to be hearing his or her thinking, you know? Whereas when there's maybe 3 or 4 people, if even, in a firm like yours, and you're showing up, you're in the taxi with them there, and then you're showing up at the meeting, you're planning the meetings, whatever, you hear their thinking out loud every time. That is invaluable, to hear how decisions get made and how they get arrived at, etc.
Yeah, because like obviously, like I said, like a lot of them, like just becoming very competent at, you know, at the job, and as the job develops, you know, becoming, let's say, a manager and reviewing files, that's a whole new kind of thing, and you know, all that kind of stuff, like that all takes obviously a lot of time, and but also then the other, you know, skills that probably can't be quantified is obviously, like, you see, is the advice, and is what, you know, what the partners in my firm would be giving to clients, you know, the high level kind of stuff.
Right.
And I guess for me, I love, you know, attending, let's say, the final meetings, and you get brought along to quite a lot with the clients, because let's say at the end of an audit or something like that, because there's a lot of advice done.
Right.
It's not just a formal audit, you know, you really are their accountants, so, you know, in a private firm, so you're giving advice and strategic, you know, advice, and sometimes, you know, they really know a lot about the business, or they could have really helped grow our firm could have really helped grow the business.
Yeah, you'd have big incremental impact.
Yeah, so like, you know, and they, you know, they don't have a lot of in-house accountants maybe, you know, so they really, your advice is really applicable, you know, and so, or sorry, like not my advice, like the partner's advice would be really applicable to them, and really like of huge benefit, and that's really what oftentimes they're paying for, you know.
And you have the owner there thanking you.
Yeah, and you also get exposed to the you know, because like the final meeting isn't just with, say, the financial director who's an accountant, which would be the case, I'd imagine, in a lot of places. You know, one of the final meetings, like you actually get to meet often the person who, the director and, you know, managing director of the company who founded it and owns it, and you get to, you know, maybe you have to ask them questions as part of the audit often, or you get to talk to them, or you'll come along to the meeting, you get to hear about their future plans, and it's, you know, that's really good exposure, especially to companies. Like, it's not like being exposed to strategic direction of, you know, big public companies that have to disclose a lot of their information. I mean, these are private companies that, you know, do not need to, you know, it'd be very hard to get to find out any of that information, you know, or get that experience. So that is the experience that's really, to me, the big selling point. So as long as I continue to get that experience, is what I like. And one thing over the last while is even for myself anyway, and this is something that's definitely unique to a small accounting practice that I couldn't do if I was in, say, one of the very large firms, is, say, even bringing in your own clients. So you might have a friend or something like that who needs help, or you might just meet somebody who's just starting a young business like you. Like you're just going to need help, because there is so much just compliance, and then also then the advice, I guess. And so I have, over the last year or two anyway, had a couple of my friends come in, and then as a knock-on effect of that, maybe in their industry, you get referred on. So some of them, like, I have a few people coming in now as clients that I've brought into the firm who are now like, you know, they might not necessarily even be my friend. Like, I might have a loose connection.
Just a connection,
but they get referred on, and that's how it works, I think. That's you kind of slowly build up, you know, I don't know, I guess a client book of your own. You know,
and that's the surprise value you get to add as a junior.
Exactly. You know? So that's something that I probably bring that's different. And I probably helping my, like we went back to my maybe the skills I have outside of, you know, the talking. So if you haven't noticed.
Good luck bringing on a PLC in a bloody
you're just not going to be able to. And so it's like, you know, these guys would be too small, especially when they start out. They'd be too small to go to any of those big four. It would be too expensive as well for them. Where, you know, this is the clientele, this is the market for a practice like Ormsby Rhodes. So it's really cool, and I really, that has been the most rewarding thing to me. And then what you have to realize is it's not just like being part of that person's business as they grow it and watching it grow, and we grow with them, and it's really cool. And also then learning lots of different things, like, you know, helping them file VAT returns, or doing anything, or getting them set up just even, you know, accounting packages or something like that. But being brought along to all the meetings with, say, the partner who's there, and then you get exposed to not just, you know, the normal, you know, stuff they might tell you, the partner might tell you on the day-to-day anyway, but you get exposed to maybe, well, they're giving strategic advice to this client
and the discussions that happen.
And you get to sit in on that, and that's
incredible.
That's huge. Like, that's huge. And, like, you would have to work you know, you might only be brought along to that when you're at a director level sometimes, or a manager level, or something like that in other practices, or maybe until you're right below being a partner. Whereas I'm way down a totem pole, but like, at least but bringing that in, in a small practice, I'm able to bring in a client, and I get exposed to that, and these partners would be good enough to be anywhere. I know that for a fact, you know.
And there's another benefit to this, which you haven't mentioned, but which you definitely kind of stand out in, I'd say, and it probably applies to a few cities, Dublin of which is definitely one of them because it's small. You, instead of being one of 11 suits on the other side of a table to 11 other suits representing a PLC, are one of 3 or 4 people sitting opposite the owner, of many, keep swapping in owners of maybe 100 different SMEs throughout Dublin.
Yeah.
You end up having this incredible network of business owners, small business owners.
Yes,
some of whom are probably in the twilight of their career, some of whom are just starting out, as you say.
Yeah.
And you end up having this incredible network that matters a lot in a small city like Dublin.
Yeah,
and that's where you get to use that kind of personality gift that you have.
Yeah, I guess
and
so.
leverage
Yeah.
that. So
No, definitely. I didn't barely even thought about
but that is a huge thing, I think.
You get exposed to a lot of different people, and it's like you say, Ireland's not a huge big place.
No,
particularly Dublin.
no, it means a lot to be able to do that.
People all the time. So yeah, no, I have really enjoyed it, but again, I think like a small practice, there is obviously shortfalls, and you obviously have to remember things like, I think it's really, you're judged much more on an individual basis. I think.
Can we talk just quickly about what the shortfalls will be in a
well, like say in a get go, like I can't speak for all firms. So it might be some small firms that offer a higher price, but like say in your first year you're likely maybe not getting paid, or maybe not getting as many extra benefits like overtime and stuff like that. You might not get in if you get in the big practice, but you won't get in the small practice. But however, as the years have gone on, I've actually seen myself surpass maybe some people who are in
the big
practice.
Four.
So say if you're in a really big practice, you might be working way harder than the person next to you, but like, good luck going in and asking for a pay rise, or good luck going in and trying to do anything because and stating your case. It's like, sorry, you're so replaceable. You're one of thousands here, you know, and they can't break precedent because then
well, that's precedent.
Yeah, exactly. Because then it's like, oh, hell will break loose, So, but I guess in a smaller practice, it's definitely a lot more individual, and it's kind of like what you make of it is how much you'll get out of it. So, like, you could pass through and not look for responsibility and not try senior early, or do anything. Like, it's a lot less like regimented. Like, you don't need to go through level 1. There's not like, you're not micromanaged.
Sure.
They'll just throw you into something when you're ready. So like there's one partner particularly in my work anyway, and he probably kind of took a chance on me earlier on, when I'm sure there was a few people raising eyebrows when he probably first threw me out in the job. He probably was not ready. But he probably didn't even realize that. They throw you out of the job and they just say, and you work really hard and get it done. And to be honest, like I'll tell you what, like I probably was not the best employee the first year or so I worked. I went through a lot of problems we were talking about earlier, and some of the pointers I was given was not from a position of like a high horse here. This is very much from, I've learned the hard way a lot of the time.
I've been through that mud.
Yeah, exactly. But I think as I got given more responsibility, I actually kind of jumped into the job a bit more. I actually I liked when I was given a bit more, say, freedom. Like, no one was checking my work at the end of the day. You say you have a week to finish this, or you have 2 weeks to finish this. Get it to this stage. And like, I much prefer that because I don't work that efficiently. You know what I mean? And I noticed a big time. One of the big learning curves was definitely through, say, the exams that you do. I know you had someone speaking on your last accountancy podcast, Alan
Kremen,
and he did a great job. You listen to that podcast as well if you want to know more about the exams. I thought he did a great job laying out the steps. It was very clear. You could tell he's probably better accountant than me. But he was laying out very, very well I like the stages and the progression, and it's like in those exams, studying for those exams, that really hit me like a ton of bricks coming out of
that's a
college.
Huge incremental workload to take on.
Yeah, and you go straight into the Cap 2s. For me, I went straight into it. So I ended up qualifying because I did somehow manage to get through the exams on time. Like, so I passed my finals first time. So that was like, I was done by the second year of my training contract.
And
so that's only 5 years out of college, out of school. I was effectively, obviously you have to finish your training contract, but I was effectively qualified in terms of exams. All you have to do is
very, very quick
time. So I was, that is as quick as you can do it. So I was like, there's no quicker way of getting through the exams than that, getting to past the FEs. So I was kind of thrown into it. When I was thrown into it, like I remember the Cap 2s, like I scraped them. I literally got, Jesus, I got 50% in 3 out of 4. So like on the button.
Jeez, don't say that.
Yeah.
No clients are listening.
But it's not like, there's lots of people who are wicked good at the exams and not maybe might not be too hot in work, and there's some people who are like I've seen it, like who are incredible accountants, like really good, but they really struggle with the exams.
Yeah.
But I used to meet people in the lecture hall, and these people were real accountants. Like these guys were like come in and they'd have like 2 coffees every day. Everything was perfect. Like they'd come in and they know exactly what they're doing that day. Sit down. They only bring the books they need. They do 9 to 5 like robot and walk out of there, and they're just gonna ace the exam. And just know it. Like they're so well organized, and like I was not like that, and I used to it kind of used to freak me out, and I'd study at really weird times, and I was like kind of all over the place, and you know I used to, like, some people were like, how many hours do you spend studying? And I used to hate that question, because I was very aware that I was not really studying a lot of the hours. So like I could tell you like
12 hours studying.
Yeah,
was 8 hours.
a lot of days I was in there 13 hours or
okay.
whatever, but I wasn't doing 13 hours studying, man. I was.
Yeah.
If I got 2.5 or 3 hours, maybe near the end 4 hours of real study, that's an incredible return for me. Like, I'm all over the place, but I got used to the fact that, you know what, that's the way I work. Like, that is just the way I work. That's always the way I work. Like, if I don't have deadlines, I'm not really going to do it in advance. I would love to be that kid that always has homework done. Like, I would love to have been, you know, it would be what a weight off your shoulders. But like, or to get the projects done early in the semester, so I can concentrate on the final exams.
I don't think those people exist.
Yeah, I was never.
They do, we don't know them.
Yeah, I was exactly. Yeah, it wasn't hanging out with me. You know, they were cutting the fat, which was me early on. I just couldn't. I'm just not like that. But I think it wasn't until I got into the professional exams that I really realized, like, God, you know, you can. That's just the way you are. Like, and it might not be the best. It's not the most efficient way to work. It's not the most efficient way to study. But it's the way I work. Yeah. It's the way I study. Like, I'm not saying it's hard to say nothing. It's hard to say anything is optimal. But like, it's the way I'm.
You really have to identify what works for you.
Yeah.
And then go with that, and don't fight it. If you fight it, it'll just kind of cause more turmoil and maybe distraction.
Yeah. And
so just acknowledge it and go with it. And
yeah. And anyone who actually does the exams or anything will know. Like, say you have the standards, right? That's like the Bible, everything that it stems from. Like, people I would often see in exams, like in the exam hall, used to really intimidate me. It could be even like just interim exams leading up. So you've only done a few days study for this. They'd have them tagged. And I used to think to myself, oh my God, they've already read through that. Yeah. I've never read them. Like, you know, how are you going to read? I was like, someone much smarter than me.
The standards of accounting.
Yeah, someone much smarter than me, this is my theory, like, someone much smarter than me has read those down and has summarized them and put them into notes, and I'm just going to use those notes. You know what I mean? Because, like, how am I going to, I'm not going to read it better than them. Yeah. I know that, right?
It's their job.
Yeah. And it took me, at first I was intimidated, but now, like, as I was coming into my final stuff, I realized, you know what, like, just because the person next to me has all these different books and they've read, like, they have these notes on the standards, or they might tell me, oh, you know, the notes aren't enough, you know, and these kind of stuff. I'm just like, well, you know, they're going to have to be, like, because I'm not going to be able to read that, but I really do feel as though I can pass the exam. So you just kind of have to back yourself.
Yeah, be confident in what you've got going on.
Yeah, and then realize that some people, even if they are really efficient, they're probably pretty insecure as well, and they just they're just doing that for their own peace of mind.
Yeah, well, they're doing it their way, and again, nothing wrong with that. And do the small and medium-sized companies give you the breaks for study that the others do? Same breaks?
Yeah, well, okay, so there's like the institute recommend a certain amount, and you kind of have to get that as part of your training contract. Your training contract's in line with that. However, there's additional time that you have to take off. So, like I said, I mentioned the overtime. A lot of times they'll build up overtime in bigger practices, and that's what they'll use. Yeah. Whereas, and this is a sacrifice, you know, sometimes in small practice you might have to make. You might have to take holidays. You might not get as much overtime.
Right.
You might not build it up.
Yeah.
Not that you aren't working outside the hours, but you're not going to build it up. However, in saying that, like, I know in my practice anyway, even from, if I look back from when I started, and there would be people talking about maybe the years previous to when I started, it has come on a lot. They really made a big effort, and the pass rate in our place has skyrocketed. Like almost everyone is passing now all the first time, which is great.
Is there any benefit to doing it as fast as it can be done, the way you did it with the final year college exams and then?
Yeah, yes and no. Like, great because you can get in and get out, and like I meet guys now who are like, I would say this, meet people who are doing engineering degrees. I meet them in the exam hall, and they could be 2, 3, 4 years ahead of me in school, and I always think to myself, and they're doing the same exams as me, and I used to think to myself, like, wow, you have worked way hard to get here, and you are way like more mature than I am.
Yeah.
You're just I think you're in the same spot. I'm just like, geez, like I've almost cheated.
Yeah, that's strange.
But you know, you do worry, because like I know that guy or that girl is definitely more mature than me, and like maturity is just,
it's huge,
such a big thing. I know I was listening to one of the podcasts before, and you were saying that one of the things you regretted that you should have done in college to start a business.
That's absolutely it.
Yeah, but you know what I thought when I heard that? I was like, I don't know if we would have been, well, I'm speaking for myself here, I don't think I would have been mature.
Yeah, we probably weren't.
You know, you look back, and you always look back at things and you think, oh, I was me then as well.
Yeah.
And you were you, but you were so much, like, can you believe it? If you're listening to this, like, I was actually more stupid. But you could be, like, you're actually, like, you're so unprepared for things. You know,
we talked about doing a salad bar for a while, or at least I drawn out the plans and stuff. There was a lot to it. Yeah, I guess the maturity thing is, I do maybe take that a bit for granted. You over the years, and in particular last year when we went down to give that talk in Kildare, you really taught, that was good fun. You really kind of got into my head this idea of small business versus big business, because I was always into big PLCs and becoming the CEO of a massive company and all this sort of stuff. And if you ask me about that now, the idea of being a CEO of a public company, the paycheck would be great. Everything else would be horrible.
For the few years that you survived.
Yeah, but you'd be bandied about in the paper. You'd have Wall Street chopping up your share price. You'd have a board to report to every 20 minutes. You'd have 100 different divisions to look after.
Yeah, and like, look, obviously it'd be pretty cool to be the CEO from a big company, but like, I think what people sometimes don't realize is like the biggest door. Like, people often just run to the company with the biggest sign outside it.
Yeah.
You know? And that isn't always necessarily going to equate to you. Just because your company makes that money doesn't mean that you might. You know what I mean? So like, you could look at it this way. Like, you could be maybe the CEO for a couple of years, right? And you could make huge money and you probably get turfed out. And I'm sure that you could do really, really well. But like, to become the CEO of some of these companies is nearly impossible.
Yeah.
Like, there is so many people chomping at the bit, and if you actually were lucky and, you know, bright enough to actually get there in the unlikely circumstance, you know, there's a lot of people going after you. Whereas like, sometimes I see people that have their own private business, they're not, you know, reinventing the wheel here, but they just run a very efficient business.
And they get to keep whatever's left.
Yeah, they are taking, you know, great money out of their company every year, and they have a great, and they could be paying their, you know, any other members of their family. They could be getting so much out of it, and they have it forever, and then they can sell it. Like, there's a lot of
well, there's a lot of risk involved.
Of course,
for sure. But yeah, these upsides are incredible.
Yeah,
and also all completely quiet under the radar. Nobody knows what they're doing.
Yeah. I just think it's like, just because one company is bigger than another doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to get more out of it. And that's just like, I think it's not like, you could talk to somebody you know, probably a bit older than I am or smarter than I am, but like, yeah, obviously, like, you know what I mean. But it's not something that occurs to, I think, also.
Well, it didn't occur to me until 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like when we had that car trip.
Yeah, I also go back to like you saying about starting a business. I think it's so. There's definitely a funny idea, I think, in college. I don't know, maybe it's different to the people who've been listening to this, your kind of market, but like people who are in university. But there was a big mentality in the business school anyway to like come up with the next big idea. They wanted, you know, the next Snapchat to come out of their place, or the next app, or something like that. And even if it wasn't big, they just wanted to have a big success story. And like, there was a lot of modules that were all about, you know, getting a platform pitch together, or, you know, coming together with a proper business plan, and trying to link you up with guys from the engineering building, and trying to link you up with like somebody from a different, like, you know, a different core, or like the ag building. So you come with ag businesses between you, and you're meant to be the business guy. But like, I think we're conditioned to believe when we were coming out of college that like, oh, like, you know, now is the best time to start a business. You don't have a family or anything like that. Whereas like, I remember being at, I went to like one of the talks at Web Summit, one of the free talks or something a few years ago. I can't remember who was talking, but it was really bright. And he was a guy, and he was ages ago. But I sit next to one of my friends, and your man goes, yeah, statistically, the best time to start a business was like, I can't remember what, I think it was like 30 something.
37 is said to be the.
And like, my friend was like, what? Like, what?
Yeah,
no,
37.
What? Like, no, that's not. And he was in business school as well. He was in Trinity, and he was just like, no, like, what? Like, because you were led to believe like you can start it on your phone, and like one of my friends, he's like, he basically started a business from his phone, and it's unreal. You know what I mean? Like,
we're gonna get into that.
Yeah, he built it, like, you know, literally no investment, and built up, and there is that opportunity today that was never there before. And yeah, you probably would have to be young to do it.
Yeah,
but. Like, there's not, like, for every Mark Zuckerberg out there, there is, you know,
a lot of guys
insane number of people who are failing, you know.
I want to say something on that, but I can't actually remember what it was. Oh, sorry, I want to say this. I guess one way of looking at it is that you get, if you do it early, you get the risk out of the way before you have responsibilities like family or mortgages, etc. But then
the
obviously
experience is the big thing.
The experience is huge, and I've even doing this little project has taught me a lot. As I was saying earlier, I'm into the deep water of things that I've always been afraid of with the technology side. You've gone through something that very few people go through, in that you met a fella when you're both actually really old through your years. You were probably 13 when you went in, and been best friends with him for what, 15 years now, or a bit less, something like that, 14 years. And he now has become a national and on a level international celebrity.
Yeah, so
Rob Lipson.
Yeah, so Rob's cool with me talking about him, but he said that he's just so he knows. So he basically he's in the online influencer space, and he was really into fitness, and he was kind of like, you know, he's probably not a guy who was that, I would say, academically confident. You know, he was actually, even though he was so confident in real life, he really just was not. Like, I know for a fact he's a really bright guy. Yeah. But he's not academically confident, so he'd be afraid to put his hand in class. I genuinely believe, you know, because I was like, because I know he's smart. Like, I know it. So it's just like I think in school you kind of get put in a box. Yeah. And then that's you forever. Yeah. You know, and look, there's a lot of shortcomings. There's a lot of shortcomings to the school system, but I can't improve it. You know, that's another conversation. But you know, say, you know, he might not be the strongest academic, but then as he came out, and it's a lot of guys in my year, you know, guys who didn't even necessarily go to college and stuff, are the guys who are, right, you know, financial reward is not the only way to gauge someone's success, but they're the guys making the big money. Yeah. Not like, oh, they just got a, you know, a lower skill job that pays higher early on. No, these guys are like starting businesses. Like, if they don't get up in the morning, there's a lot of people who aren't getting paid. What do you think it is? Do you think it's the fact that they felt like they had the scrap just to get to even, and then they've got this scrap inside them? I think business acumen, or whatever it is that, you know, makes guys who want to go out there and really take risks like that is not it's a different form of intelligence. It's not like academia, because there's a lot of academics out there, you know, who have loads of negative equity and bought like these stupid investments, and you know, there's lots of people who have, you know, are top of their field as consultant doctors or as dentists, and, you know, made really stupid business moves and still continue to do so because they maybe perceive themselves to be, you know, excellent at everything they do, you know, which is not the case. So you I'm not sure, but let's say for Rob, like, we go back to my point about, you know, one of the key differences, I guess, about small practices. You know, when he first started, you know, making sales in his business, like through his website and stuff like that, you know, he got in touch with me and just said, look, what am I meant to do here? I'm sure I need to pay taxes, I need to do etc. So I was able to, fortunately, I'm in the position to be able to help him, and my firm is able to help him, and, you know, it's a really good fit, and you know, the people in my work were able to understand his business and really able to give him great advice and help him, and then I was able to be kind of hands-on, help him grow, and give him, like, you know, even when I'm hanging out with him, be able to, you know, just like, you know, fill in some of the gaps where, you know, he's so focused on, say, the marketing. He's outstanding at that. Well, he's a marketing genius by virtue of what he's done. Yeah, he's excellent. Yeah, so, and it's like, and he goes a really lean business model, and just even small things, if I can help in any way, I have, you know, I'd like to think I have. So, you know, I just to be, you know, there as a support for him, and I'd love to see my friends succeed. There's nothing kind of cooler than that. And so, yeah, he's obviously grown massively, and also then it kind of helped me, you know, on the back of that, on the back of him growing so much, be able to get, you know, new clients in similar spaces and stuff like that. And that's been amazing. That's been really cool as well. I really like that, because then, you know, I've learned a lot on the way, so then, you know, you're able to kind of help those people grow as well. And the space is also so interesting. A lot of people don't understand it. They don't, and like, even if you watch it, they just still don't get it. They wonder where the value is, or it's more like they think that they might be able to do it, or they think that they'll be able to. You know, there's a lot of things like, or they don't understand. They think they underestimate the value of it, or they might think. There's a lot of things, like, there's a lot of things that they go into there. They just don't understand it. You know, and it's a fascinating science. Yeah, it is a science. And it's changed so much. Like, I see what Rob does, and 2 years ago, very different. Yeah. You know, everything was very different. You know, but there's so many different revenue streams, and there's so many different ways to go with it. Yeah. You know, and it's also, you know, also it's grown so fast, you know, having to adapt constantly has been a struggle, I'm sure, for him, you know, and, you know, he's done it phenomenally.
Well, the lifestyle change, and I mean, you've told me like the pretty funny stories of you're walking down the road with him or driving in a car and kids are coming along banging on the windows or whatever.
Coming out for his autograph and stuff. They, like, it's mad. They just all want a picture with him and stuff, and he's always turned on. He's always able to like chat to them all.
Yeah,
he's really good, like obviously that way, and that's true. That's his whole business. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, that's been really cool. I really like that aspect of it. So that's something a bit more exciting. As unexciting as being an accountant is, that's something that I have definitely enjoyed along the way.
And learned a lot from with so Tom and Rob have set up then the Creators Agency, which is an events business.
Yeah, so I'm involved in the running of that, and
And you had a great event. Was it February 10th?
Yeah,
10th or 12th?
10th, Saturday anyway, and we had done, so basically we started running events, and we kind of came up with the idea of having a burrito one day and just talking crap. And normally I meet him on a Saturday and we go lift weights and then go in there and
drink like 8 coffees or whatever.
Yeah, and then just talk, and he's a really good guy to be around. He's so positive, and he anyway, we just said we run these events, and you know, it's not the most groundbreaking thing, you know what I mean, I'm sure, but the big value is obviously Rob, you know what I mean, and how well he's able to sell it, and the value he's able to bring, you know, the type of guests he's able to bring in. You know, he's bringing people to Ireland that no one else could.
These American guys,
no one else could. He's bringing them in who are like the top of his field, you know, because he's built these connections himself. And you know, now we're able to get involved with really cool companies as sponsors, or different things. Like, even it was really cool, the last event, one of our friends has launched his own company called 5 Star Stay.
The Airbnb.
So it's like he has like really high-end luxury accommodation, and you know, you'd be competing with like the Suite and the Marriott for, you know,
more
competitive prices. And he's even ventured into London now, and he's another guy who, again, academically would not be, you know, a guy who maybe put much effort into it, or, you know, ever, you know, is going to score top of the class. But my God, he's doing, you know, he's really building a business. He has lots of people who work for him and rely on him, and I think that is so cool. Like, I went into his office the other day, and it was just so cool. Like, you know, I just think like that is, like, I'm so happy to see someone be able to like achieve that, and one of my friends, and then also like be able to see like we are able to run an event, Rob and I, and then a sponsor of the event is one of our friends' businesses. Like, that's sort of a cool way to try to help each other out. Yeah, no, really cool. And so there's like we ran 2 events. We did one in November and then one in February, so pretty quick between each other, similar, but the venue was almost double the size for the second one.
Yeah, well, the second one was huge.
Yeah, it's huge. It was nearly a sellout, but it was very good. We kind of don't give ourselves we kind of put ourselves under pressure both times. Like the first one, I think we promoted it. We basically came up with the idea, I think it was 2 weeks, and basically 2 weeks before. Then literally 4 days later, 5 days later, we launched it, got the venue, launched it.
Oh, right. I thought you meant 2 days before the date it was
on.
on.
Sorry, 2 weeks before, yeah. Pretty much, no, 2 weeks before basically it was on, I think.
Oh, really?
Maybe we launched 2 weeks before, but we came up with the idea 3 weeks before.
Right, and I know you saw that in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, and it was amazing as well. There was a lot of, like, you know, I guess established promotion companies, like multiple of them approaching us, trying to get involved and doing all this kind of stuff. And like, it's so crazy because we might have even ran an event. Yeah. And we're still trying to get involved because you can just see the type of, you know, excitement you know, Rob was able to bring to it, and you know how well we were kind of trying to run the days.
Yeah.
So it's really good. Like, there's such a good atmosphere at them, and it's been really I guess something really fun to be doing. Definitely on the side for me. I've really enjoyed it, and like I didn't think, obviously, when I start doing my accountancy graduate program,
that this would be part of the journey.
One of the skill sets I'd leave with would be event planning. You know what I mean? I might start my own wedding planning business. But it's been pretty cool. I've really enjoyed that process and the whole thing. And it's like every day was a problem. Do you know what I mean? Or every day afterwards we had an issue, or this problem. But like, to be honest, sometimes me and Rob would be laughing to each other, like, actually, there'd be no crack if everything went smoothly. Do you know what I mean? We need to get this insurance, or we didn't get this insurance, or we need to get like, you know, somebody might be, you know, like giving us hassle on, you know, on a service being provided, or even just trying to get trying to get the audio. We have a big problem last minute, and like the speakers don't have microphones, and we just have to like Rob's up there presenting, and the microphone's cut, and he just has to roll with it.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. And just do it with your friend. It's really good.
It's cool.
It's really good crack. And
it's great how business can take you on those adventures. I went down to Australia to be an investment banker. And 3 years later, I came out an events guy. It was remarkable.
Exactly. Yeah, you went from there to Google, so it's completely like you can just. Yeah, again, it goes back to maybe not having the plan, like you don't, and you shouldn't really always have, maybe just a general direction. You just want to be always getting better. Yeah, always getting better, but like you shouldn't have a tunnel vision, probably, from my experience, not that I am speaking from some destination.
No,
either,
but that's all we have to go off. So jumping into a couple of quick fires then for you.
Yeah, fire away. Yeah.
Unless do you have anything else you want to add?
No, yeah, sure. Chat away.
A book you'd recommend?
Oh yeah, so
don't read.
Yeah, I don't make time to read.
No, he's too busy. Usually in Starbucks having how many coffees a day?
So that's a dark place.
What is it, like 4 or 5?
Oh, way more.
No way.
Terrible. So some days I would have I think the other day I had 3 cans of Monster and like 2 or 3 coffees.
You're kidding.
The purple one.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yes, okay, yeah. So well, hang on, no, don't listen to any other podcasts.
Yeah. So I listen to Gradlife, and then once he doesn't update an episode, I then move on to. I won't listen to Joe Rogan Experience forever.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah.
Yeah, years and years and years. But you kind of pick and choose on those. Like they can be really, really silly, or they can be very informative.
Yeah.
So like it depends on what you're doing. Just I'd say if you haven't got into it, like research it. What you may be interested in, and you'll have there's really good ones to go back on. It depends on if it's sports or if it's just other comedians want to listen to funny people talk. Or like you listen. I think he does these fight companions where he's meant to be watching the UFC.
Yeah, because you love the UFC.
Yeah, but sure, they don't really watch the UFC. They talk crap. Yeah, like they literally watch one fight, and at the end, like they don't even talk about it. It's like 4 hours. Like,
there's a balance between extracting value and melting your brain. That's the kind of that's the
exactly. So like sometimes I do I love so I have the ones that are like probably more educational, like I really like hardcore histories, which is funny because I didn't even study history in school.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've actually kind of gotten into history as well.
Dan Carlin, so he does hardcore histories. Now they don't come out that frequently, but they're so good. They're really like the guy speaks really well, and he says he's not a historian, but he is.
Right.
It's just like he goes into like detail, and he'll go all the way through. It could be World War I, and he goes like it could be a 5-part podcast, each about 3 or 4 hours.
Right.
And it's really good, but it's not maybe something you'll listen to going to bed at night. You kind of need to give yourself a bit of it. You need to be
like a long drive or something.
Yeah, like I can kind of switch off and listen to The Fire and the Kid, or like Chris D'Elia. He does their Bill Burr. They do one-man podcasts.
Bill Burr's great.
But like they're kind of ones to switch off. Other one is like I know some people listen to Radio Lab, but there's another one I think it's called Rag and Bone, or what's it called? I don't know. If you search Bone or whatever it is, it's like they talk about like usually kind of weird, messed up things, but it's more like CSI. Like they go into
interesting. Okay. A quote is there a quote that you've lived by or anything?
I don't know. Like, I think LinkedIn and stuff has ruined quotes. I always find like
Instagram is just covered in quotes as well.
They've just ruined it, haven't they? Like literally have just ruined it. Like it's just like I don't know. It's tough. Like I always think like with quotes, it was like used to hear it off like a teacher or
they were great. They were nuggets.
Your granddad, and it'd be like this really wise piece of advice. Now it's just like nonsense, like clickbait a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I don't know what.
There's one that has escaped. I've never seen it on any of the pages. I don't think it's meant to be. Well, I guess what all quotes are extractions from a larger thing. But this was the last. I think it was the last line in a book I read, and it was open your eyes and see all you can with them. For one day they'll close forever. And I thought that was a book about Nazi Germany. It was a pretty kind of deep setting, and then they said that, and it was amazing. But that hasn't been bastardized by social media yet, which is good.
Too much context can't fit in the caption.
Yeah, exactly. An inspiration person you know?
There's a lot of people. I suppose one of the big things that actually probably has happened as well over the course of my training contract, and probably something I probably should have talked about earlier, but
go on.
so I'm from a family business background, and my
with bars and restaurants.
Yeah, so let's say my family had a pub there, and even my dad and my grandmother ran the company. My mum passed away when I was a kid.
Right.
Basically, they run the company, and they both fell quite ill over the last couple of years. So we had to really step in to run it, and it's quite difficult, obviously, because I'm like, a lot of people who are listening to this podcast probably are going to be on, or yourself, where you're studying maybe and doing and working, and you're trying to progress in your work, and you're trying to learn, and I didn't find the work as difficult, but it definitely was to me. So I was. It wasn't many hours left in the day to be, taking on this business that, at that point, it was probably struggling, and it was very difficult. And it's also like, it wasn't even like it was my business and I'd run it into this position. We're just getting handed the ball the last 10 minutes and just
we as Tom, who's 26, and Mick, 23, 22 or 23?
My younger brother, and the rest of my family as well helped out.
Right, okay.
But my brother kind of really took over the day-to-day, probably, and my sister also was working in there as well, helping out. And they both took big sacrifices. Like my brother deferred his college course, and people always want to talk about the success story, but that was like a really difficult time, definitely for all of us, and trying to juggle it. And obviously your family members being ill is not great, but the pressure that comes with maybe the pressure that comes with financial strain is also massive, and then on the top of that, people being sick is stressful as well. I mean, you've kind of been through this before, like years ago with my mum, so it was a lot, we were scared of what way it was going to go, and like it wasn't unknown to us, which was almost worse.
There's just so much on the line.
Yeah, there's a lot on the line, and then it was just difficult because, like I say, you work a 9-to-5 job, very hard to make calls or do anything for. I was trying to do the long-term elements, so ultimately you want to maybe sell the premises or sell the company or anything like that. It was very. And I was probably quite at my depth, and very sort of carved at that point. So that was a huge learning curve. And I will say, working in a smaller practice was definitely, and seeing so many private businesses and being exposed to smaller businesses.
That you were equipped somewhat.
Yeah, at least somewhat. Yeah, like I'm not doing that in my job. Yeah. But my God, like just even seeing some of the lingo and seeing some of the, seeing anything just helped me get a better understanding, or even be able to take on, doing the books and stuff like that internally, in the house, like my grandmother used to do, and maybe she was probably, should have retired long before that, like, it probably wasn't fair in her, that I'd be able to at least able to contribute by reducing, say, the audit bill or something like that, because I could do a lot more of the work, and that kind of stuff. And that was huge learning experience for me. And Jesus, if it had come a year or two earlier, I don't think I would have been ready for it. It kind of goes back to the maturity, and some of that would stem from work, and some of that just stem from just getting older. Yeah,
well, I remember our phone calls when I was in Australia and you were walking me through that, and I was in awe of the fact that you were holding all of this up. An accounting job that's demanding, then exams, and then 2 by ill health, and then all the property stuff.
Yeah, and I guess the worst part about it is also, I don't know if anyone listens from a family business background, but it's like, it's not like real business, like if I go to my own work, nobody actually gets that upset with each other, because, everyone is cordial, and like, you're there for like, everyone's professional, and, and they work as a team. But like, my God, like, just think about like you arguing with your sister or brother over their TV remote at Christmas time, and you spent a few days together. It's just like, this is like, and throwing in like the business, and everyone's blaming everybody, and everybody feels like they're not being respected. And I think you really just have to learn how to put that aside and realize you do have a common goal here, and you just have to stop acting like you're 5 years old and get on with it. And that was, it was a really difficult time, but thankfully, things that did really turn around, and we managed to really put ourselves in the right direction. We're not fully there yet, but we're on the way, and a lot of things have definitely, it's really improved. So that was huge relief, getting a lot of our goals achieved recently enough. So that's been a massive weight off my mind. So but a huge learning curve, 100% a huge learning curve. I think it will really stand to me, and I actually can see some of it rubbing off at work. I'm definitely sharper at a few different things, or when I hear, say, a partner or a client or someone maybe talk about something, a bit more high level in business, so I'm like, oh God, actually, going back, sorry, I'm totally out of the way here. Inspirations that I would know, some of them would be during that time, one thing, and it kind of goes back as well what you said earlier about putting the ego completely to the side, and being humble, and having humility. Like, I was very much aware I was well out of my depth. Now I have definitely enough, I don't know what you call it, maybe arrogance or naivety or whatever it was, that I thought, geez, okay, I'll take it on, like I had to, like, you know, but I wasn't too afraid. I still, you know, went up to it. But I guess at the same time, and I'd have to try, I'd back myself, but I was very aware when I'd be out of my depth. And I, thankfully, you know, I was in a position in my family of, you know, have a good, like, you know, my father had a good name and was able to, you know, we had plenty of people I could probably reach out to just for advice. And sometimes the advice wouldn't even, like, we mightn't even implement the advice, but having that conversation is not just comforting with somebody, but then, like I said about, say, Noel Mack, he was able to take the advice and go, okay, that's not applicable here to me, but it could come down the road, or you might even be able to act on it, but it's just like, okay, but it's still good. And you're also making connections as you're going along, and there's a lot of people there who I was able to reach out to, and God, they were able to help me, like, and it was just so, and probably more than they even realize sometimes. So some people even would directly go out of their way and be able to, you know, make a phone call that would really help me, 100%. But then there would also some people who might just give me advice, and, you know, it mightn't even come to fruition, but I really took from them.
Just the energy exchange.
And like, I would think to myself, like, geez, I would love to be like them someday. Like, I would just, I suppose my ultimate goal would be to be like,
someone who...
I don't even know what I'd be doing. Like, I don't know if it would be a partner in a firm. I don't know if I would be in a practice, or if I don't know if I would have my own company. I don't really know at all. But all I do know is, like, I would like to, you know, every day becoming closer to being a business person that I would admire. Do you know what I mean? And that's it. And then kind of in the realms that I like. And that's all I'd be trying to trend in that direction. So there is a few people, like, I know.
But you've painted a vision for the type of person. For me, it's a very clear idea. Someone who is near the top of the game and in a position to help others and be inspiring to others.
There's some people who I know in kind of the property world who I reached out to, and they were excellent. And then one of my cousins as well. He runs the Temple Bar. He owns Temple Bar in town, and he's Tom Cleary, and he was outstanding. He really helped me a lot. It gave me just even being able to talk to him and stuff was like comforting for me at the time. It gave me a lot of confidence, me and Mick a lot of confidence, and we were able to, and it mightn't even be what we implemented his advice, but just, you know, knowing that, you know, we're talking to people who are smarter than us was great. And I really took, I would, like, you know, like, obviously, and seeing where there's a goal at the end of it, like, you want to try to get closer to being like him, and also some of my friends, like I talked about, like, 5-star stay and Rob and stuff, and then there's also Brian, my friend, Grant. He's outstanding. Like, I see how quickly he developed, and he didn't even, like, he might have been, like,
he didn't go to college, did he?
No, but Jesus Christ, he's the sharp side a lot. Like, he's done so well for himself and continuing to do well, and he'd be the last to tell you that. But he is, like, I definitely see how hard he worked and stuff like that, and that was one of the things I used to think.
People thought he was crazy. Instead of going to college, you went out to Nigeria for 3 or 4 years.
But I see that, and I'm like, wow, that's. I was like, if he can get through that, that's
fair play.
Good, like, I suppose inspiration is a silly word, but, like, it's just, it does. You think to yourself, geez, okay, I am able. You know
what? Your group of friends actually have been remarkable. You've got 2 professional rugby players. You've got. You who are, like, there's
loads of lads as well who are just doing really well, and they will eventually. They might be able to sing and dance about it yet, but they will be so super successful. But, like, I think it's like what you say. I would, like, some people are like, oh, surround yourself with like-minded people. We wouldn't all be the similar, I guess, in some regards. You know what I mean? But one thing I do think is, like thinking back now, just recently, I said a lot of people are from a kind of a family business background. A lot of them, particularly in my group. So I think a lot of people have that appreciation for business, and also kind of had that. I guess we would talk about things where a lot of other people wouldn't. So say, like, I know my girlfriend, she would be kind of from, like, a lot of her family would be more like professionals, right? Where, like, you would attend it could be a christening in my family or something like that. A christening or a wedding or something, and there'd be barely a college degree in the room.
Really?
Like, honestly, but the people could be doing really well for themselves, you know? But a lot of people just had businesses and different things like that. Whereas, you know, if I attend one of her, an event with her family, there's doctors and there's lawyers and there's loads of accountants and there's, you know, everyone or they're really high up in, you know, big corporations, or they're doing really well. You know, they're like really multiple degrees, and, you know, like their parents had degrees, and, you know, there's none of that in my family.
You guys are entrepreneurs.
Well, I don't know. I usually don't like that word.
I hate that word as well.
You're either, like, you know, glorified barman, you know, most of the time. But, like, that's the end of it. Like, you just kind of, you you're just conditioned to grow up in that atmosphere. So like sometimes you'd be sitting in a restaurant and like my friends or me would be pointing out the things, or my brother would say like, oh, I don't like that, or those lights are stupid, or you know, look how many staff they have here on, they couldn't be making money. That's the things we're always talking about. But I talk about like it's conversations, it's something I'm genuinely be interested in.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, I know like my girlfriend would say to me like, what are you like, can you not just have dinner?
I talk about that stuff as well.
Yeah,
it bothers me.
Yeah, but it really annoys people, and they should be like, "Why can you not just sit still, like, do you know what I mean, and just enjoy the business, right? Say slate in this poor person's restaurant." Do you know what I mean? And it's just like that. Like, it's just what would interest me, and it takes you a long time sometimes to realize that you can grow up in a bubble, and I certainly probably did, where you know that's the world I was in, and like the business definitely came first in our family, still does, and it always has. And probably to a lot of people they'd be like, no, that's not the way I want my family to be. And look, I probably wouldn't want my family to be like that, but that was the world I grew up in, and you have to just roll with it. And everyone reacts to it differently, but I think a lot of my friends grew up in a similar way, and look, we probably have a lot of shortcomings because of it, but it's definitely there. It's definitely there.
Is there someone you who inspires you who you don't know, who these guys can say look up or anything like that? Or do you know, you don't really go in for that much, do you?
No, I don't. Look, there's a lot of people that read those books and all this kind of stuff. And I know everyone always says like I make a joke about like LinkedIn. I think that like it's like I can't remember my tweet, something stupid. Not that anyone listens to me on Twitter, but like it's like 80% of LinkedIn posts are fake stories about some kid getting told off by their teacher, or doing badly in class, or told to do better in class, and it turns out to be Elon Musk and or Richard Branson. Like it's always that story, isn't it?
I've seen people put up that story about whom a mutual acquaintance of mine who I know it for a fact to be false, and they say like, I quote this teacher, they said this, like, no, they absolutely did not, and it's just this comment, they just copy and paste it from someone else.
Yeah, I know, but look, it's probably an inspirational story, and if it helps one person, it's probably great, and it probably has helped loads. So,
but it's also just ridiculous. Like,
well, I can't relate. Like, I see Elon Musk, and I can't relate to him. Where I can relate to my cousin who runs that business. I'm like, Jesus, someday if I work really hard, something like him, you know. Like,
no, the small business thing for guys listening, I think the small business thing should definitely be a takeaway, because that was a huge.
Like
you showed me a different world there.
Like Elon Musk is going to be way smarter than I can
of course.
be. So like, I cannot invent rocket ships.
A life lesson you learned in your life or in your career so far?
Oh, Jesus,
Don't like it? Fair enough.
Life lesson? I don't know. I don't know. I suppose learning how to take in other people's point of view, you know, definitely naturally.
And try to see their side.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
And like being able to maybe calm down a little bit. I probably too, and coffee's probably not helping this. Two, if I'm like focused on trying to get something done, or if I'm too probably dismissive and stuff. I think in the past, where I think now I'm probably a lot more. Still have a long way to go. But
that comes, I think, with leadership over time. And lastly, then, what is a change that you wish to see in the world?
Oh God. That's a big one, isn't it? What do you say for this?
I sent you this. Mine is childhood obesity. I'd love to see that solved. But there's so many. There's childhood obesity. There's the obviously the planetary crisis as well. There's a refugee. Do you know what? Near me, up near Mosney, there's a in Mosney. There is a refugee camp there, and I'm pretty sure that they just kind of like do nothing all day. And I'm not saying in a way of attacking them. I'm saying what a shame. Why can't there be
involved in society?
Society has a lot of problems. And we have so much latent capital in those people. Can we not use them to do something?
It's so hard to get. You can't get a job. You don't have a PPS number, address, or anything.
I was thinking about it because that was told to me over Christmas, and I was watching Schindler's List. And one little kind of like long shot idea I have. You know those coffee cups that people use, the replaceable ones?
Yeah.
I think they should catch on. I just think they should. And I'd love to see a factory for those, filled with people who need employment to give them purpose and an income and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think anything you can implement like that.
I think that would be great, but obviously I haven't run numbers.
Actually, one life lesson, something I did realise as well, and it kind of goes back to saying that culture amongst your friends, and you're kind of sometimes in a bit of an echo chamber if you're all quite similar. Like you could say, one thing I didn't realise is like I'd take that into accountancy, and I thought like, okay, like, this is like the key. This qualification is the key to kind of get to the top, no matter what you want to do in business, right? So like it's real. I know passport is probably a cliche, but passport business, you know, to people just take it more seriously, no matter what you do.
What a cliche.
And take it more seriously anyway. But that's the idea. But I remember like meeting people and they were doing great in the exams and stuff like that. You know, like they're not people working my practice, but like just people like you chatting to at the lectures. Yeah, and one of them was like, oh yeah, I might, you know, I'd love to work in like, I can't remember what they said, maybe payroll or one of these other departments, like basically looking for something that's very easy afterwards. And I was just like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I used to see people and they'd be like, oh, that financial controller does 4 days a week and gets paid like 80 grand. I would love to have that such an easy. Like, to me, that was like crazy. I'd be like, no, like you want to be working 6 or 7 days and you can get like, and you get paid double that. And then I go, and then sure, by the time you're 50, you don't need to work, or you know, you can sit back and whatever. Like, that's the mentality that I would have. But I was like, it took me a long time to realize that like, not everyone's goals are the same as yours, are like, are just
brilliant.
Yeah, just financial, or just like or probably as shallow as maybe ones that I had. And like you probably think, and it's not like they have less ambition. That's a key. It's not like they have less ambition, because it's like their ambitions are just different. So some people, like, their big thing is travel. Like, they want to travel, and like their job is really just facilitate that travel and to help them move somewhere else and work there and stuff like that. And that is like maybe like that's their primary goal.
Yeah.
Like progressing in a company and stuff, that's cool. But like they're not looking to really. I think you could be like, you know, you shouldn't feel uncomfortable about, like, they might come out and say it, but they probably don't really want to be the, like, you know, the ultimate boss. They
a lot of people, I remember finding it bizarre when I heard of people in the bank saying, I don't want to be CEO of the bank. I'm like, well, what the hell are you doing here?
Yeah, but sure,
like, but
they probably look at us like we are idiots.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
well, they did.
Yeah, and they probably are, but it's like, you kind of realize that, like, I know, like, everyone says surrounding themselves with like-minded people, but sometimes don't.
You know?
Like, being exposed, and definitely as I've been working just from, you know, meeting more people, and definitely since post-college, because in college you still kind of pick who you hang out with.
Yeah.
Where being exposed to the kind of just more variety of people, like, I appreciate other people's ambitions and goals way more. Like, definitely, like, I definitely understand. And sometimes I hear people like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to travel here, or I'm going to try, you know, do this, that I can work like 1 day a week for charity, or do something. Yeah. I'm just like, wow, that is so cool.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it probably, but like, my God, that is so cool.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a huge.
Like, my mind doesn't even go that way. I'm just like, I'm obviously a terrible person, but how are you? I'm just like, that's, it's like, you kind of sometimes need to be put in front of people that maybe you wouldn't, you know, link up with in college. You're not going to join a society that has them in it. Or whatever, you know?
No, I agree. That's a huge lesson. I've learned that as well. Well, it's been a pleasure chatting, and I have to say, kind of one on record, that in terms of people who I know who are an inspiration, you're definitely one of them. And that only became, so that's always been true about the work ethic and this gift that you have that I've mentioned that people won't appreciate just in a one-to-one interaction, but your gift with people and getting on with them and bringing the best out of them when you walk into a room, knowing them or not. But then just hearing about all you've been through with the business and that kind of time in your life.
And I'm also not, I'd like to caveat and say, like, there's people out there who are many times more difficult.
Yeah, of course, no, but just being close. So I haven't seen those people
from my experience.
I know, and I haven't seen those people from close range, but I've seen you from close range.
Yeah. Unfortunately, your listeners have too as well. First video podcast I'm on, I couldn't believe. I go, you had I saw a picture. It's like you had a really good podcast with Killian. Yeah. You should listen to that one if you haven't.
Between Killian, we've now had Tommy Bryan last week. Who rode across the Atlantic over Christmas. What do you do over Christmas?
Yeah. At the Atlantic. I was like, I can't believe you chose me to be your first video one. I go, those two guys are worldies compared to me. I'm scared away everything.
I'm going to have to Photoshop it all.
Yeah, Photoshop distorted. With any sort of Snapchat filter, you put like kitten eyes on me for the whole thing.
Oh, Jesus. Well, yeah, brilliant having you on. Thank you very much.